All right, folks, it is October 2nd, 2025, and we have another update talking about XRP breaking above $3. Now, I just realized that I haven't checked the price of XRP in a couple hours. Oh no, we are back down to $3. Good thing I didn't put $3 in the title. Somebody might have been offended. But I did say XRP moving back up because we were just down once again with a triple back test of this $2.70 low, watching XRP consolidate between this range between $2.70 and $3.66, the new all-time high for XRP. So we are moving up in the sense that we just set a low again for a third time at $2.70. We move back up above $3.10 today. You start to see some bullish energy coming in despite the fact that the government is shut down. And really, you just get a vibe check from people around, not just America, but really the world. And we're kind of just fed up with fiat currency. There's one thing that we have in common, and it's a distrust of the fiat currencies that we have across this planet. Now, we are watching the Japanese bonds, obviously at rates that we haven't seen since the 2008 Great Financial Crisis. The reverse carry trade set to unwind as the bond market over there is pricing in a rate hike over in Japan. So as we go into a rate cutting cycle, the Bank of Japan is actually getting ready to raise rates and the bond market starting to price that in over there. We bring it back to the economic data that we're not going to be getting anymore while we are shut down. And we're going to be talking about that in tonight's live show. But I will always bring it back to the fundamentals and the data that we're starting to get back on XRP, and is tremendous. Today, I just participated in some XRP yield, at least part of the way to earning some yield on my XRP by minting some FXRP. That's right, folks. I did make a sacrifice of just a little bit of XRP, about 90 XRP, I believe. 90 FXRP is what I ended up minting. And so I'm going to tell you guys how that went. I did record the process right before I was in a rush about to take off to go get my haircut today. And real quick, I saw that Flare, I had my notification set and they said, yep, new cap raised 2.5 million. Oh, here we go. Ran over there and I was able to mint 90 FXRP. I'll tell you how the process went. And then I'll drop that update because I did record the process. So I'll have that linked up down below, or not down below, but linked up going forward for the community who is looking to learn how to participate in Flare, which once again, I just minted the FXRP. Now I need to deploy it in the Flare ecosystem. But this is just a test for me so that I can report back to you guys. And it starts with 2.5 million plus 2.5 million. And I think that the Flare cap so far for FXRP is at about 10 million. But that's 10 million XRP on its way to maybe even billions. That's what Hugo's saying as a goal. I like that. I like setting big, audacious goals like that when it comes to business. Flare finally delivering on F assets with FXRP. And so I'm very bullish on Flare. Very bullish on XRP because as we get more opportunities to lock up our XRP, once again, that 90 XRP that I put over to Flare, I'm just going to let sit and cook. I mean, obviously, if it's looking bad or rough, I'm going to pull out. But for now, I'm going to go find where I can get some yield over there in the liquidity pools, in the staking, in the delegating. There's many different ways to actually earn yield on your FXRP within the Flare ecosystem. And this is something that the good news, guys, doesn't take a full-time job. This is something that you can do part-time. Now, obviously, if you want to be a trader, you want to be slick with it, you want to be a DeFi king or goddess for the gals out there, it's work. It's monitoring, understanding where the yield is coming from, understanding the protocols and how they work, and understanding really who your counterparty is. In the case of Flare, it's pretty decentralized. Now, I've been talking about this spectrum from decentralized offerings for yield on XRP to more centralized offerings. Once again, all of it locking up. It starts with Joe Blow throwing 90 XRP. Cumulatively, 2.5 million was the cap, and we filled it just like that. And so this is XRP that can't be used for cross-border payments. It's XRP that can't be used for liquidity in other corridors. It's XRP that couldn't be used for the stable coins that are set to explode here, real world assets set to explode on the XRP ledger with multi-purpose token amendment just getting passed. We broke that down in a video a couple days ago. What we're showing you guys here now with data, with the fundamentals, with the amendments and understanding the tech on the most basic level, because I'm not an engineer, I'm not a coder, I don't like tech, I don't like sitting at my computer. I like doing this, right, where I just get to sit and talk and show you guys the data and show you guys charts and show you guys the news. But I'm not a techie by any means, but understanding it at the most basic level so that we can take advantage of the opportunity, whether it be yield, whether it be AMMs, providing liquidity here, providing liquidity there, lending, borrowing. That's another amendment that's on the way for the XRP ledger. TikTok, what's going on over here? Looks like we're still running short here tonight. Only 130 people in the chat so far, TikTok. If you guys could help me out by tapping the screen, sharing the stream, let's run it up tonight here, folks. Big live show, big momentum behind XRP. And it's just unfortunate because I saw a lot of people that were banking on that 250 XRP coming in, 240 XRP coming in. And then as we move back up towards $3, it's just like the FOMO kicks in right away. Now, it reminds me of back when XRP was at 50 cents. Trading between a range of 30 to about 50 cents for years. And this is where I accumulated most of my XRP, thank God. And the FOMO would start to kick in as we go over 50 cents back then. Now just imagine, here we are at 270, triple tap on the back test, strong fundamentals, strong chart, still holding up great structure. Yet people are hung up on previous price predictions. People are hung up on ridiculous price predictions on one spectrum, right? And so we bring it back down to the reality of the fundamentals and the data, which tells us that we're just chugging away. Chugging away. And there's a big difference. See, we're at 10 right now on total value lock for real world assets on the XRP ledger. We've been playing around. To say that we've only been playing around is an understatement. We've done nothing compared to what's about to take place with real world assets tokenized value lock on the XRP ledger. Multi-purpose token was an amendment that just passed and went live this week. That's going to be a big part of that. We're adding all of this functionality and DeFi to the XRP ledger without the vulnerable smart contracts and the hacks and the exploits and the bugs and the issues that we see on all these other blockchains. This is a great place to be. Not only for those of us that picked up a bag back a while ago, but for those of you guys that are getting in now. There's still a tremendous opportunity. And so in tonight's live show, we're going to explain why XRP is moving back up, how this party's just getting started. We still have a long ways to go. And if you appreciate what we're doing, I just ask that you guys help us out by sharing out the content far and wide. If you guys are on YouTube, let's like it, heart it, like it, and share it out far and wide. TikTok, you guys as well. If you guys could tap it and smack it, I would greatly appreciate that. So once again, back to the chart here, XRP. We got a full moon coming up on October 6th. I don't worship the moon, but they do. You know what I'm talking about for those of you guys who have been paying attention. And so this is why we have the moon phase indicator on our chart. Looking at October 17th was the deadline for some XRP ETFs. Deadline gets thrown out the window, not only because of the government shutdown, because mostly the generic listing standard. ETFs can go live anytime at XRP for XRP, Litecoin, Dogecoin, and Solana. Okay, this process is about to pick up rapidly. Now, we warned about the buy the rumor, sell the news on the Fed interest rate decision. Not only was it buy the rumor, sell the news, it was the largest liquidation event of 2025. See, that's real analysis. Did anybody else warn you about that one and help you prepare for that moment? We are trying to show you guys the difference between real analysis and just playing around in this space, delivering hopium content. Let me get some clicks so that I can make some money, but not provide any real analysis that's any meaningful or substantive when it comes to making moves in this market. Once again, I'm not here to give you financial advice. I'm here to say, hey, this is the direction that I think it's heading. Here's how I'm positioned. Move on your own accord. And we warned about it. Largest liquidation event of 2025. Now, we run it back up on the anticipation of ETFs. And of course, guys, this is the XRP journey. The longer it gets suppressed, the longer it gets delayed, the more it's going to be worth it because you keep on pulling that slingshot back. The further you pull it back, the further it's going to launch. And when you tell people they can't have it, they want it even more. That would be XRP in the form of ETFs and just other folks that haven't been able to get exposure to XRP because we still don't have mass adoption for cryptocurrency, just broadly speaking. This all changes. Stablecoins is key, not only to expanding US dollar dominance, but to bringing the rest of the world on chain. Guess what was announced just earlier today? RLUSD expanding in Africa. Ripple already has fired up many corridors, many countries, 40 plus countries in Africa tapped in. I actually believe that they have full coverage of the continent. I'd be surprised to find there might be a few countries that they don't have coverage of, but they are expanding that coverage of Africa quickly, to say the least. The Middle East and North Africa was a region that they were already dominating. Now they're expanding through the rest of the continent. APAC is a region that they dominate. And somebody actually had posted a comment in, I believe it was Korean. I had to translate it. They posted it earlier today, and they were talking about the kimchi premium and how it comes from the distortion between the South Korean won and these assets like Bitcoin, XRP, and also gold. You know, I'm going to be making a separate video explaining this, how God's money sent the signal. For those who weren't paying attention, we were watching gold and silver very closely and stacking it up as a defensive measure. Pleasantly surprised with the returns and with an understanding based off the fundamentals and the data that we could still see a lot more. That's precious metals outperforming Wall Street's top benchmarks 3 times. When I tell you that our portfolios are smashing everybody else, it's not just me, it's many of you. I'm getting the feedback from our community that's been stacking precious metals since single digits, sub 20. And to me, I just think, wow, I stacked all my silver. I stacked it all up under $30 per ounce, from a range of 20 to 25. And as we approach $50, silver was back down a little bit today, but as we approach $50, I think, wow, I watched silver double in the matter of 3 years, not even, since I started stacking it. And I was mostly stacking freedom seeds before I got into precious metals, which is why my silver stack isn't as big as it maybe could have been, because I was stacking freedom seeds back when I was a youngin' and for quite some time, all the way up till, 2021, when I started to have my family. This is when I readjusted and I de-risked, from being over leveraged crypto to having a little bit of allocation to precious metals. And I've been talking about keeping cash around too, because this liquidity crisis is not over. As I mentioned with the Japan carry trade unwinding, that bond yield being at the highest rate since the great financial crisis, we lose track of how many data points take us back to the great financial crisis or worse, back to the Great Depression, back to what led us up to the dot-com bubble. Even Ken Griffin from Citadel Securities saying that this has echoes, to paraphrase, of the dot-com bubble. Absolutely. And to think of how well we have been performing amidst all of this chaos is something that I think we need to appreciate for a second before we find the next runner, before we find the next pick. Our precious metals, defensive measures, outperforming the stock market's best benchmarks by 3x. Okay. Offensive measures like XRP and other utilities up 400%, at least, on some of these, at least 200 to 300% since the election when we entered a new reality. This government shutdown, we'll see how long it lasts, but it just exacerbates the issue, which is we don't trust the system. You can't count on the man, in this case, the government, right? And this is why a flight to safety has been underway, and why I mentioned that God's money sent the signal. I'm going to be making a separate video to break it all down. Gold has been sending the signal this entire time, from sub 2,000 to almost $4,000 per ounce. And as I was mentioning with silver, I've already watched silver double in 3 years. How soon until I watch silver double again? And I was talking about this with my Discord community, about how a young millennial like myself, a lot of us are being priced out of starter homes. A lot of us are being priced out of gold, right? For a young folk just getting started with a family. The idea of going out and being able to stack a $3,800 stack of gold, 1 ounce, right? Most Americans don't have $4,000 sitting around. And that's the thing, guys. You're seeing the price on the charts at 3,800 approaching 4,000. That's not including the fee. That's not including delivery, depending on who you're getting precious metals from, right? And so this is why I partnered up with Miles Franklin and Andy Scheckman a long time ago. It's because I thought that he provided the best service for over 33 years, and he also had some of the best prices. And one thing that I like that he does is he allows the convertibility into gold and silver. And he's not going to charge you on both sides of that transaction. And so, once again, we're watching here this breakout, XRP back up to 302 as I speak. XRP's moving back up, but gold's been sending the signal. Bitcoin finally broke back up above 120,000 today. I told you guys in the update earlier today that we're going to watch Bitcoin dominance to determine when it's going to be ripe for taking profits on our altcoins. It's looking like to me that Bitcoin tops out here in October, and then we're going to watch our alt season hopefully come through, and it's going to come a little bit faster than some folks anticipated, right? Let's get right on into it, though, folks. We have a lot to discuss here tonight, and I want to get to Q&A. Judy Shelton says, this is really quite amusing. She's responding to Elizabeth Warren, who's complaining that while the government shut down, we're not going to get the economic data. And so she suggests that President Trump should release the jobs report despite the shutdown, because the Fed is flying blind, because it is data driven in deciding how to manipulate interest rates. But the data is proving erratic and inaccurate and now unavailable anyway. How pathetic that we empower monetary officials to decide what should be the cost of capital instead of relying on the wisdom of free markets powered by free people to determine interest rates, i.e., the cost of borrowing the financial seed corn to invest productively for a greater harvest. You let the free markets decide. It's a disgrace that they're teaching in our schools this indoctrination that capitalism is bad when we have not had free market capitalism for quite some time. We are very far off from free market capitalism, with the Federal Reserve being the biggest issue, setting and determining the interest rates, but also misguiding us in their guidance on inflation, saying that it was going to be transitory, and then by rug pulling us after that with the fastest and largest interest rate hikes that we've ever seen in history. That's a rug pull of America. And then, to make it worse, instead of providing any sort of relief, they let us bleed out by holding the rates elevated, only delivering rate cuts right before an election. And that's why Judy Shelton says it's quite amusing. It absolutely is. This is why we need to get good people like Judy Shelton in serving at the Treasury. We take over the Fed. And this is what we're going to be talking about in Money Disrupted, the next documentary. I just interviewed with Chris from Fruition Productions. The next documentary is going to be Money Disrupted, taking on the Federal Reserve, talking about the new financial system. This is exactly the heart of the issue. Eric Balchunas, what are people doing in response? They're fleeing to gold, Bitcoin, and crypto. The gold and Bitcoin ETFs here. Now, gold GLD, that is from State Street. That's the first gold ETF that went live. And then IBIT is the BlackRock Bitcoin ETF. So Eric Balchunas says gold and IBIT in the top 10 ETFs by volume today, which is rare. Everyone wants in on the debaser trade, I guess. No, it's not really an I guess. It's an absolutely. Based off the inflows that we've seen into the BlackRock and other Bitcoin ETFs surpassing well over 57 billion in inflows, the fastest ETF ever to 10 billion assets under management, that was the BlackRock IBIT. And then the success of gold and the run that it's gone on, it's not a question anymore. It's just in the data. IBIT has surpassed Coinbase's Dearbit platform as the largest venue for Bitcoin options with 38 billion in open interest. I told y'all ETFs are no joke. fat crypto margins in trouble. And this is Deribit is the leading derivatives exchange and platform for Bitcoin derivatives. IBIT has now surpassed it with 38 billion in open interest. Now, I forgot to pull it up today, but the CME just announced today that in 2026, they're going to have 24/7, 365 trading of crypto markets going live next year. So you're starting to see here, TradFi is showing up to conduct real business, and they're very quickly moving ahead of some of these, platforms like Deribit and other exchanges that were running the crypto market up until now. The suits have arrived. They are going to take control. The good news is that you front ran them all. And the longer our government stays shut down, the longer you have an opportunity to front run the suits. That's what we should be celebrating. The government shutdown is extending that window to front run the institutions. In regards to the ETFs, Eleanor Terra, she's providing a little bit of context. She actually reached out to the SEC, and apparently they can't comment during the shutdown. She says, as I understand it, the shutdown could affect the Litecoin ETF approval because the SEC still needs to sign off on the S1, and the agency is operating on a skeleton crew. It's unclear what remaining staff is working, what their priorities are at the moment. Since the generic listing standard went into effect and the agency asked issuers and partner exchanges to withdraw their 19B4s, I'm told the deadlines technically no longer matter. So the 6 ETFs for XRP that had deadlines this month and 1 in November, those deadlines mean nothing anymore. So as I had marked out October 17th on the chart, that was predicated on the government not being shut down. And the SEC had deadlines coming up on the 18th. So in the meantime, the longer this shutdown lasts, the longer you have an opportunity to front run those ETFs going live. And probably the bigger that pump is going to be leading up to the ETFs going live. She says that I reached out to the SEC for comment and was told by a spokesperson that because of the shutdown, they are not able to respond to many press inquiries. So in the meantime, you could twiddle your thumbs, you could complain, you could cry. I don't believe in XRP anymore. I've seen some of those comments. Well, why are you ignoring the fundamentals? Why are you ignoring the data from the CME that's showing you 18 billion of open interest traded volume, the fastest contract ever to 1 billion open interest, but 18 billion of trading volume in the past 4 months, equivalent to 6 billion XRP, which is 6 billion of the total supply. And yet you're losing faith? Well, you're ignoring data. And that's going to be a fatal mistake for those who do. Now we have Ripple partnering up here with UC Berkeley on the launch of its new Center for Digital Assets. From classrooms to real-world impact, this builds on years of innovation through our university blockchain research initiative. Big commitments to the universities, Ripple, tremendous work, and this is going to be a new Center for Digital Assets at UC Berkeley. Good shift, get the kids less time trying to figure out how to be woke and get them focused on some digital assets and how we set up and run this new financial system. Yeah, I think that's a good use of resources and capital there. How about Phil Kwok showing up and representing the XRP family? This is Phil. Not enough people talk about Ripple and RLUSD and the XRP ledger in the mainstream media, so I did, live on NASDAQ TV, to the billion-dollar institutions that trade on this exchange every single day. Let's run it, Phil. Shout out to the Kwok brothers.
So, Phil, let me follow up to that for a moment here. What are some of the key advantages of using stable coins over traditional fiat or other types of crypto?
That's a great question. Number one is this cheapness with which you can transfer. So for example, if you transfer a stable coin like RLUSD, which is issued by Ripple, then on the XRP ledger, you can transfer that for literally fractions of a cent. Super fast and super cheap as well. When we look at the cost of a wire transfer, I'll give you an example. We recently ran a prize competition for our community, and some of the prizes were very, very small, just as guaranteed prizes. We sent $10 to one participant. It actually cost her $5 to receive it. because that was the price. It was a $15 wire transfer. So she actually lost $5 because we sent her 10. So absolutely insane. That's just one example of how stablecoins are making it a lot faster and a lot cheaper to receive and send payments.
So Phil, let me follow up to.
And the Kwok brothers not only representing at the NASDAQ there, but also onboarding hundreds of thousands of people to the XRP ledger. What they've been doing is they've been traveling around not just this country, but actually the world, engaging with not just the XRP community, the Stellar community, and others as well. But I think that they've seen the XRP communities built a little bit differently. And the beautiful thing now for the developers, they get to tell these developers, hey, you never knew the XRP ledger had all this compatibility with other chains now being built out, these bridges, but also our own functions and, capabilities coming to the XRP ledger layer 1 itself. And so it allows these developers to have something to work with when they show up to the job site. And so Easy A, Kwok Brothers, a huge shout out to them representing us at the NASDAQ. I think that they're doing a great job representing the XRP community, doing a great job onboarding more developers, and also getting at the younger generation that is mostly distracted by meme coins. And then maybe just a lot of the developers too. Broadly speaking, when I look at the crypto space, 90% of the crypto space has no idea that the XRP ledger has a DEX built into it, which is the most fundamental thing to the XRP ledger. Think about that for a second. We have all these people in the crypto space that just think that XRP is a banker's coin centralized by Ripple, and maybe it'll pump, maybe they have a moonbag, but they don't care about it further than that. They're completely missing it. And this is showing up now. Real Yield, Real DeFi, Flare opened up another 2.5 million FXRP cap. Mint, deploy, earn. Will we break yesterday's record? I'm going to check on their profile actually, because I want to see how quickly this did. I think it did fill out pretty quick. Yeah, they said another 2.5 million XRP minted in record time. Utility is scaling block by block. Next week's cap raise is already in sight. And I'm interested to see, I got to look into this further. If anybody knows in the chat, who's determining these cap raises, when they happen, and how big they are. It seems like right now they're starting out small with more markets and Axelar. They've, done these deals where it's like 5 million XRP, 10 million XRP. And I think that Doppler Finance has significantly grown their fund as well too. And these are all growing pretty rapidly, but there's an opportunity to really open it up a lot bigger. It seems like they're starting off slowly, and then I think we're going to look back here in 6 to 12 months, and the TVL on the XRP ledger, along with the real world asset value on the XRP ledger, is going to be well into the billions. So we're looking at right now, real world assets on the XRP ledger isn't even 400 million. That's laughable. Especially considering Ripple partners, it's laughable. And so it's going to open up tremendously. And right now you have about 9 billion on Ethereum of real world assets. So we have some room to catch up here, but it's not going to take, one partner could bring that onto the XRP ledger. And the other thing to note is that Ripple's already doing tens of billions of liquidity volume every single year. This is before they acquired Hidden Road that does 3 trillion as a prime brokerage platform. And so I really don't think that many people in the crypto space get this, that our DeFi is getting unlocked. You will no longer have to sell your XRP if you don't want to. I'm thinking today, as I mint this FXRP and I sacrifice a little bit and we'll see, do I lose some? Do I make some? We'll see. But I'm thinking to myself, this is exactly what I want to leave to my children when it comes to crypto. I can leave videos that explain my, trading lessons and how to trade and this and that, but that's a job, right? How do you hand off passive income to your children, to your family? How do you leave something behind? Well, we're starting to get into that conversation where you could leave behind a portfolio of passive income that comes from, just today, Coinbase announced 10% on your if you lend out your USDC, you can earn 10% on Coinbase. Coinbase is not my favorite platform, but that's a pretty dang good deal. I'm not telling anybody to do it. And they filled that, they opened that up. I think that they saw hundreds of millions right away, already today, day one. So in one day, they took that total value lock to the entire real world asset value on the XRP ledger. I mean, we're seeing just how quickly these can grow and how much demand there is, and why the banksters wanted to not allow us to earn yield on our stablecoins. Okay, this gets really good, where you get to put, you could, this example right here, earning 10% on your USDC through Coinbase. ROUSD on Uphold, right, up at 5%. I saw on your US dollar account you can earn 4.25% on Uphold as well. So you could leave behind a portfolio where it's just stablecoins earning yield, it's XRP earning yield in decentralized platforms and centralized platforms. So when your time comes, you go to meet your maker, you leave behind this portfolio that's just earning this passive income and this yield off of providing liquidity, off of lending, and you never have to sell your assets. This unlock is happening right now. And the good news, even for you guys that aren't going to participate in the Flare, the DeFi, and all that stuff, that's fine. The good news is all you have to do is hold your XRP, and the supply shock takes place around you. And I'm just talking about retail participating in this DeFi, let alone institutions coming to participate in this DeFi as well. So once again, I recorded the process of minting the FXRP on Flare. I did 90 XRP. I recorded the whole process. I'm going to drop that video tomorrow morning. So show you step by step how I did it. And now the next thing that I'm going to follow up with is where am I going to deploy my FXRP in the Flare ecosystem to earn back that yield. And so I might do it between, one or two different programs to see how that plays out. But some of the early tweets that I've seen is showing rates between like 20 to 200%. And I got to fact check these guys and check their math and make sure it's all right. Make sure that they're not just, fibbing about how much they're making. But that's what I'm going to do. That's why I sacrifice some of my XRP to go try that out. I'll let you guys know how it goes. The next thing here, and this just gets better and better. See, Ripple was the banker's coin. They don't care about us. It's going to be for CBDCs. And this is something that the Bitcoin guys really pushed. This whole narrative that Ripple and the CBDCs on the XRP ledger was the end of the world. It was 1984, right? It turns out, and you listen to David, you listen to Ripple and Brad, all these guys, they have incredible respect for privacy and individual liberties. I mean, for anybody who watches David Schwartz, he is the biggest free speech proponent. And now we are seeing it, and they're not just talking about it, we're delivering these capabilities to the XRP ledger to respect your privacy. This is something that Ripple's working on right here. Without privacy, financial institutions cannot safely use public ledgers. Without accountability, regulators cannot sign off. With programmable privacy, we can have both. We're about to have our cake and eat it too. That's what decentralized identity, along with credentials, these are amendments on the XRP ledger that are passing. Some of them already did, that allow us to provide credentials when needed, but protect our privacy, our data, our information when we want to. Actually, at all times. At all times, our data is protected, our information is secure, but this will allow us to share our credentials when needed. When needed. This is a big one. In this Ripple Insights post, he shares why he joined Ripple, what lies ahead for the XRP ledger, and how his team is building the privacy, scale, and reliability institutions need to move finance on-chain with confidence. When we got the clawback amendment, everybody freaked out, or a lot of people did. Oh my gosh, they're going to claw back our XRP. No, you can never claw back XRP. Never. Nobody can. The clawback amendment gets applied to new tokens, real-world assets, stablecoins, deposit tokens, where these banks and institutions who need to have these abilities to claw back or freeze to be in compliance with the regulators can do so. The ability to protect your data. See, these banks and institutions couldn't use these ledgers if they also couldn't guarantee your privacy. And this all circles back to David Schwartz stepping aside as CTO at Ripple. And a lot of people thought, this is FUD, this is bad. David's quitting. Was David fired? No, he wasn't. He was elevated to a board position. He's going to be steering the ship. All right? No longer in the day-to-day. And he's still running his own XRP Ledger infrastructure. But the key takeaway that I tried to share with everybody when it came to the David news is that he finished the job getting the XRP Ledger ready for institutional DeFi with his team of tremendous developers and engineers at Ripple that he has. They finished the job, or they will by the end of this year. By the end of 2025, he's going to serve out the rest of this year, and then he's going to go to the board. He's going to step aside, still run XRP Ledger infrastructure. And to me, it was one of the most bullish signals that we've gotten on XRP in quite some time. One of the most bullish signals for XRP price. But this is where people get misled, is they'll see this take place, even though XRP was going up, but they'll let the FUD get to them. They'll let the TikToker who makes a little clicky clickbait get to them. You know, instead of actually looking at what's taking place, which is David acknowledging missions accomplished. I can step aside. I'll elevate to a board position where I can oversee. And institutional DeFi is ready to go on the XRP Ledger in a completely and fully compliant way for the regulators. Without smart contracts too. That's the other beauty of it. Thank you for the gifts on TikTok. Thank you for the love on YouTube. If you guys haven't already, please make sure that you like the stream, share it out far and wide. I want to continue. There's just a few more things I got to get to, and then we're going to open it up for Q&A. Crippen Rider responding to this post about the privacy. He says, in a time where I believe we're losing the fight for privacy to AI, the governments on Earth, and the many too big to fail tech companies that own basically every single aspect of our lives, it's pretty refreshing to read that there is a path forward for the XRP Ledger that makes sense. It's big. Needs bucks. ZK, which is zero knowledge proofs, will enable true institutional regulated DeFi, private compliant markets for tokenized collateral, stablecoins, and real world assets, all operating on public infrastructure, all on the XRP Ledger. Chad Steingraber. This is where it gets interesting. He put out a tweet on August 18, 2022. He says, this is where it gets interesting because the road to $20,000 per XRP. Chad said it, not me. Chad said it, not me. Chad Steingraber. It was Chad. It wasn't me. 20,000. The road to 20,000 XRP involves privacy. They've been very clear and honest with us. XRP was never meant for retail, for public retail trading. Oh boy. We were the pitchers in warm-up practice before the game begins. Ready for the big leagues? Folks, here we go. I got one more data point on charts. We're going to go take one more look at the charts and where we top out this cycle. But before we do, I do want to give a shout out to our sponsor, iTrust Capital, folks. Check it out real quick. We can buy and sell crypto. Also, they have precious metals for your IRA. That's over at iTrust Capital. Now, you're going to get an exclusive $100 funding bonus when you use my link and promo code Rector9 is the promo code. They have the premium custody account and the IRA, traditional Roth and SEP. You can roll over that 401k or convert that 401k, I should say, into a traditional Roth IRA, have full control, start investing in crypto and precious metals, institutional custody, award-winning US-based support, low cost, no monthly fees, and I'm very happy to have them tapped in here. It's going to be a big one right here as we get exposure. 401ks, you can convert it over to the IRA and start investing today. Once again, that promo code Rector9 is the special offer. Get $100 funding bonus. A huge shout out to iTrust Capital. I'm happy to have them part of our community resources because we need to get you guys protected and we need to get you guys actually winning when it comes to your retirement investments. These financial advisors told you to stay away. What a mistake. Now they're late. Now they're saying 1 to 5%. Also a mistake. Also a mistake. Now, I'm not a licensed financial advisor, so I don't give anybody financial advice, but I can share my opinion freely. That's the beautiful thing here about America. And that's exactly what I've been telling you guys here, is that it's just silly how these guys, they wait till they have all their ducks in a row and they're ready to sell you a product, and then they'll open it up. And so we got that linked up down below for iTrust Capital and all the rest of our community resources, the XRP family merch. And I just want to say thank you for everybody that stopped by here tonight. Let's get into rapid fire Q&A. Thank you so much. We have one more data point though, real quick. Hunter Horsley, there's 37,000 plus Bitcoin of open interest calls between 120 and 140,000 for the October 31st expiry. I said it at the start, I'll say it again. I think that Bitcoin tops out this month. In 2013, Bitcoin topped out in December. 2017, it was December. We're accelerating and moving faster through these cycles. They're getting a little bit shorter each and every time. And the return on investment, the gain during these cycles is also getting smaller. And so in 2021, the bull run for Bitcoin ended in November. So 2017, December, 2021, November. This time around, I think that we're going to get it in October. And so we have 37,000 Bitcoin of open interest calls between 120 and 140,000. This is in who's in control of the markets now. Right? We're talking about the CME. We're talking about the ETFs. We're talking about Wall Street. They can no longer hide the fact. And I was on the Paul Barron podcast earlier this week. The interview just dropped this morning. I encourage you guys to go check it out. I had a great time being interviewed by Paul Barron once again. This is the second time I've been on the show. He told us, and I wanted to wait till he dropped this podcast live because he's the one that gave the inside scoop. He said that he knows somebody in Vanguard, and Vanguard just came out last week and said that they were going to start to offer. There is a space. After they said there's no spot for crypto in your portfolio. Mind you, 10 trillion assets under management for Vanguard. 10 trillion. They're just behind BlackRock. It's BlackRock and Vanguard. There you have it. 10 trillion assets under management. Crypto has no place in your portfolio. Now, the complete 180, and now they say that it does have a place in your portfolio, and maybe we should make a consideration. Well, Paul Barron, he said, I'll give you guys a little bit of inside scoop. What they're revealing is only 1/10 of their overall plans and what they've been working on. Well, of course, right? This is kind of what we've been talking about here, is that these suits have been lying, whether it be Jamie Dimon, whether it be Larry Fink, who didn't understand it. Now he sees the light. Who helped him see the light? Robbie Mitchnick, head of digital assets at BlackRock, formerly at Ripple. Jamie Dimon, Vanguard, all of them. From don't touch it, no allocation, pet rock, only criminal activity, to, hey, we have a product to sell you. Not just spot Bitcoin, not just spot Ethereum, but also spot XRP. And that BlackRock XRP ETF is on the way, along with the BlackRock Income ETF on the way. Now, if they get any sort of sophisticated DeFi players at BlackRock, maybe they can get somebody to go earn yield on Flare, Axelar, and some of these other protocols too, right? And they could start to provide an income fund on XRP as well. The largest asset managers in the world are coming for it all. They had to hide. They had to lie. They had to deceive. Now, I only engage in business practices if they are legal, moral, and ethical. So my mentor, Dan Pena, says, as long as it's legal, moral, and ethical, we will participate. And he says, law, morals, and ethics swing in the wind depending on where you're at. And so the fact that they lie and deceive and distract and deny that they have any involvement, and then they come out and then they're all in, I'll let them take that up with the maker. In the meantime, thank God we front ran them all. And like I said, this government shutdown only allows you a little bit more time here to front run institutions that will get exposure through the ETFs and pump your bags. You need to be asking yourself right now, who's going to pump my bags? Are you pumping your bags, by the way? Now, I'm not telling, be reckless and get extra liquidity from your best friend. I'm talking about teaching your friends, family, loved ones, and people that you work with about real utility, real fundamentals in this space and why this is such a big opportunity. Are you doing your job to spread the good word? Because the opportunity to front run these institutions is over after this shutdown. When this shutdown ends, the opportunity to front run is over. The ETFs will go live 100%. Take it to the bank, literally, if you play your cards right. Or you can comment down below and tell me, XRP can barely hold $3, Zach. What's going to be more productive? Figuring out how to stack more suppressed assets, leaving a comment crying about XRP price. Let's open it up. Rapid fire Q&A. Taking a look here at the XRP chart. We're at 3012, holding up just fine. Holding up just fine on XRP. Let's go rapid fire with it. Thank you for stopping by, everybody. Couple super chats to get through real quick. Joseph Turner, thank you for the 2 spot. What the heck? Told my Caleb and Brown broker it's XRP over everything. That's what we do. You tell those guys over at Caleb and Brown. And I just wanted to plug them real quick, actually, too. I'm glad that you mentioned that. I'm not even going to plug Caleb and Brown, even though I just plugged them. But here's the point that I want to get across. These exchanges, let me be careful with my words. You are here to conduct a business transaction. You are not here to be friends with anybody. Okay? I can't make myself more clear. These exchanges are hiding their overall cost of doing business. You might see a fee that's 1%. You might see a fee that's 1 to 2%. You need to look at spread. You need to look at slippage. You need to add in the withdrawal fee. You need to add in withdrawal limits. I'm not going to name the exchange. I already shared this with my Discord group yesterday. There are platforms that are hiding their spreads. I went to go I went to go move 100 XRP to a cold storage wallet. Sorry, not cold wallet. Let me backtrack here. I went to move 100 XRP to go mint my FXRP. So from Uphold to my new Bifrost wallet so that I could show you guys how to sacrifice your XRP to Flare. I went to do the transaction and I noticed the spread where the market price of XRP was 292. Yet they were marking the rate of XRP at 286. Now, I understand I just slipped up and said the exchange, but I need to share truth with you guys over everything. I love Uphold because they allowed us to stack XRP for a while, but they are not including and they're not showcasing. It's there. You can see it because the market rate's 286 and you're looking at your chart over here, XRP's at 292, right? So they are putting it on the transaction. They're not hiding it, but they're not highlighting it. And so I went to do this on there and I'm like, what's going on here? I added up all the fees to sell XRP into US dollar. It was going to cost me nearly 5% on the fee between spread and the fee. Everything all in total cost was going to be 5% to sell 100 XRP into US dollars. Now to withdraw, to sell into US dollars and withdraw to my debit card on file, 6.3%. I am here to report to you guys, right? I have an allegiance to the truth and to my community that helped me build this platform. So I'm going to report the good, the bad, and the ugly. 5% from XRP to dollars, 6.3% XRP to US dollars withdrawn to my debit card and bank account on file. 6.3. So be careful. A lot of people think, oh, Caleb and Brown has 3.5%. They're the only people that I know that are being upfront with everything. The 3.5% is the total cost. And you place your limit order with them, they fill your order at that price, you pay that transaction fee, that's it. No withdraw fee. And every time I've tried to withdraw from Caleb and Brown, it's in my bank account next day. Other than one instance over a holiday weekend, which is the back end of the banking system, it's not Caleb and Brown. When I tell you guys that these exchanges are not your friend, that's what I'm talking about. 5%. 5%. This was for 100 XRP. So $300, about $300, ended up being $281 by the time I was done with it. They took so much in fees, almost $20 in fees on a trade that was about $300. Now, this is something that I want you guys to go try out for yourself. Don't just take my word for it. And it's not just Uphold that's caught my attention lately with some of their spreads. It's other platforms as well too. And so think about when you guys go to hit that register and cash in on some of your positions, you're about to get blindsided. You're about to get smacked with fees that you did not consider in your exit strategy. Unless you heed my warning and look into this for yourself. It's going to be brutal. Not only are people's orders not going to get filled as we get to the top and then we roll over and come back down, but people are also going to get absolutely slapped with spread, slippage, fees, withdrawal limit, withdrawal fees, on top of any other costs that go into it as well. There's another exchange too that I'm not going to name. I don't know why they're not letting me withdraw my Flare or my Coinbase. They're not letting me withdraw my Flare or my XRP. I don't know what's going on out here. I got people tagging me that banks are having issues. We have a government shutdown. These exchanges are doing some things that I don't know what's going on. And so really have a good sit down and consider who you've partnered up with when it comes to conducting business. Once again, not who you're here to be friends with, who you're here to conduct a business transaction with. Because they are slipping it in and taking advantage of you. Please, I urge you guys, I'm not just trying to plug Caleb and Brown. I'm saying line them all up. Line them all up. Do test transactions and see for yourself. You will be shocked. And please consider it with your exit strategies on any of your other coins. After what I saw this week, I'll just leave it at this. I am making some moves. I am making some moves after this week. And it is going to be to Caleb and Brown. Just telling you what I'm doing. Just telling you what I'm doing. Okay? They're linked up down below. Tell them I sent you. It's where I've sent my XRP recently. And it's where I'm about to send some other assets as well too. Look into it for yourself. Okay? Now, back to it. Shutdown means more rocket fuel when it blasts off, Dennis. Absolutely. UC Berkeley. Is Arthur Brito's home base still involved? Oh, is that proof that Arthur's still hanging out? Brito said in 2013 that this was the plan for Schwartz. Absolutely. Absolutely. Guys, give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. I will be right back. I'm going to give you the look here at the chart. Give me 1 second. Yeah, and somebody just made a great point. They said that they've negotiated their fee. You absolutely can. If you're moving big bags, 6-7 figures, no problem at all with Caleb and Brown. Yeah, you can negotiate that. All right, let's get back to our rapid fire Q&A. Thank you everybody for stopping by. Here we go. So we got some more that did come in. Timmy Two Swords, thank you. Thanks, Zach, for being you. I don't hear many people talking about Ripple swell in, that's November. Any thoughts on announcements we may hear? Oh, yeah. Ripple swell is going to be the big unveil. If you look at the list of all the institutions that are showing up, BlackRock, Citi, etc., it's everybody. NASDAQ, everybody. It's a party for Wall Street, right? Essentially. That's what's going to be Ripple swell is. Right? For the who's who, the biggest players, biggest asset managers in the world, biggest banks and institutions in America. And I really think that that's the big unlock, is all of these partners that Ripple had brought to Ripple swell and that they've been able to talk about outside of America because of the lawsuit. This year, it's over. Lawsuit's over. Now, why on earth would BlackRock be showing up to Ripple swell conference if they didn't have an ETF planned? If they weren't already partnered up with Ripple in some form or fashion? And sure enough, we find out just, what was that, last week? That the BlackRock tokenized money market fund is going to be coming to the XRP ledger, along with VanEck as well. Guys, this Ripple swell in November is going to be massive. Absolutely. Yeah, you just look at the guest list, nothing but big hitters coming through. E. York, thank you so much for the 20 spot. Appreciate that. And it looks like you actually dropped. Zach, something is wrong with people. In 2017 and 2021, only 2 people listened to me. Now in 2025, only the same 2 people are with me on XRP. Everyone else just gives me the blank stare. What the heck? What does it take? E. York, thank you. I appreciate that comment and that question. Price action. Unfortunately, it's the biggest mover as far as bringing attention and legitimatizing what it is that we're talking about here. People don't understand. And unfortunately, in many of this, it's going to play out where people throw $200, $500 instead of allocating 5 to 10%, or as Rick Edelman says, 10 to 40% of their portfolio and investable assets to this opportunity. That's going to be the real shame, is the people that ended up going as far as to listen, but only allocated $200. Oh yeah, I had a crazy crypto friend, so I threw $200 and I was able to triple it up. I was able to double it up, triple it up. I was able to 10x it, because if you buy XRP now at $3 and my base case is $20 to $30 next year for XRP, that's a 10x, right? So, you know, that's going to be the biggest problem, I think. And what it takes is price action. People need to be able to see you winning, others winning. And that gets difficult, right? Because you don't want to brag, right? You don't want to just pull up and say, hey, man, I made all this money on this crypto. So what I like to focus on, one of the best stats that I could list off, is just our price performance since the November election, which is when we entered into a new reality. And it hits home for people whether they like Trump or don't like Trump, because they understand that we entered back into a new reality. So say, wait, I've been frustrated since November, right? Some people have lost their mind since November, right? Some people have analysis paralysis, where they study the move too much and they never make a decision. Some people have gone off the rocker completely and have derangement syndrome and aren't going to make any moves because of that. Okay, how about you figure out what you can do to change your situation, whether that be your job and also maybe your investments, which are under significant risk because of inflation not going away. And this is something that all Americans understand, no matter where you align. And so at the end of the day, it's going to be price action that is what drives the most amount of awareness for XRP to the masses. They didn't listen to us when it was at 20 and 30 cents. They are not going to listen to us. And if they do listen to us, they won't take action. They might let us talk now. They might bring it up at the barbecue. Say, hey man, how's that XRP going for you? I see that it went up. See that it went up a little bit. How's it going? And you can tell them it's been one of the best performing assets in the top 100 cryptos since the election. Currently it's up still at this point. Let's take a quick measurement together real quick, just to fact check ourselves here on the price performance since the election. And yeah, you're right here at 49 cents. And here we are at 302. Yeah, so 515%. Because I just measured it right there for you guys. 515% since the election. That shuts up the haters and it makes the non-believers believers. Because unless you are in some random stocks or IPO, like there's very few stocks, probably none actually, I would say, that did this well. Right? So when you can just tell them, hey, we positioned ourselves accordingly before this election, and now it's up 515%. And then you just go through all the other fundamentals. It's a lot for people to digest. And so that's why I say lead with the most simple answer that they can understand, where they can think to themselves, wow, whether they're a person that has only $1,000 to invest and they think to themselves, wow, I could have turned 1,000 into 5,000, or whether there's somebody that has $1 million or $100 million and they think to themselves, wow. And now we're getting this feedback from the largest money managers and financial advisors in the world. They're saying that the ultra rich are fleeing out of the high price tech stocks and the AI stocks. That they know it feels frothy up here. They know we're a little bit overextended. So what can I go to? Well, for defense, you can go to precious metals. They've done that. But when it comes to offense, you cannot lay out a better case fundamentally, technically, on the structure on our chart. It's hard to find many better opportunities right now. Because once again, I'm looking at XRP going to at least 20 to 30 bucks. Now, Chad Steingraber, as I mentioned in tonight's episode, talked about 20,000. I'm just looking at my base case, and to me, that's a tremendous opportunity for most people to take advantage of. Right? Let's go to the chart. Yeah, so you're looking at almost 600%. If we go to 20 bucks, and then obviously you'd be looking at about 900% to 1,000%, looking at about 30 bucks. You're looking at a 10x from $3 to 30. And that's me being conservative. Yeah, and a lot of people will get left behind. A lot of people will. We'll still be in a bear market by next year? Not necessarily. Now, you could still have a pullback, and I think that we will have pullbacks. But you have ETF inflows that carry us all through next year. Once again, the longer our ETFs get delayed, the more XRP gets suppressed, the more you pull back that slingshot, you let it go, this thing's going to fly. And yeah, we might run up to 20, 30 bucks and then come back down to 15. But you're talking about still a 5x even on that, from $3 up to 15. Adoption is finally here. The suits are finally here. This is no longer hypothetical speculation. This is just data. All my XRP on public opinions. Chad, what are you talking about on public? All your XRP on public? What do you mean? I'm not sure what that means. Now, I have seen some people ask about the public and the private ledger. Nothing to worry about. XRP can never leave the XRP ledger, right? Which is why when I go mint my FXRP, the XRP stays locked on the XRP ledger, and then you get a representation over on Flare. Your XRP never leaves the XRP ledger. It can only exist on the XRP ledger in its pure form. And so when it comes to the private ledger, all you have is, private liquidity pools, which are OTC desks, sometimes considered dark pools, right? But then you also have private messaging layers. And as Ripple just put out in the post here today, they're working on zero knowledge proofs where you'd be able to, protect and have privacy of your data on chain as well. So there's a few different things there, but people confuse those different terms, those different markets, those different pools of liquidity, and they really confuse the matter. But there's nothing to be concerned about. There's nothing to be worried about. There is no higher price XRP on the private ledger. Okay. What happens is that market makers and arbitragers would arbitrage between any discrepancy between XRP priced anywhere, whether that be the discrepancies you see between exchanges, between dexes, between liquidity pools, etc., private ledgers, etc. So, nothing to worry about with that one. Okay, let me check the chat. Haven't done a deep dive on Beam. No, never heard of it. Not in cold storage. No, I recommend cold storage and institutional grade custody. Cold storage and institutional grade custody is what I do. So, I only have some assets on Uphold and Coinbase that I want to trade. But as I mentioned earlier, that's probably going to change. Top 100 tokenized or equities? Yeah. Yeah, we're going to see Vlad from Robinhood said that tokenization is going to, I forget what he said, take over the whole system, something like that. Yeah, the tokenization on the XRP ledger specifically is going to explode. Zach, is gold going down to 2,000? No, I don't think so. No, I don't think so. I think that you have a floor price on gold above 3,500 right now. We would need to see the end of the world play out to get a $3,000 per ounce gold. There's just not many people selling it. The only people selling it right now are really just rotating into silver. Yeah. Yeah, Timmy Two Swords says, I just realized Ripple Swell is November 4th through 5th and full moon on November 5th. Yeah, it's going to be it's going to be a powerful event. Ripple Swell Conference, November 4th and 5th. Is Flare staking better than Doppler? Well, so I got to report back to you guys as I stake, delegate, provide the liquidity pools with my F assets to let you know. I'm late to the Flare game. A lot of people have been playing around with their Flare, doing different things, earning yield. I've just held my Flare up until now. I'm only getting involved in Flare DeFi with my FXRP. But I don't know. I mean, I'm literally starting basically from scratch. That's not completely true because I do know some of the players in the Flare ecosystem, but I got to look into it for myself and I'll report back what I find and what I make or what I lose. But as far as comparing Flare to Doppler, Doppler is a centralized offering, where you're giving them a representation of your XRP, or giving them, basically your XRP to use as collateral so that they can take out a loan, or basically trade using that as margin. They're using your XRP as margin so that they can go trade. I don't know who the hell's at Doppler. So I don't know what's going on there. It'd be nice if they showed some faces and gave us some better updates. I've been critical of Doppler right from the get-go. The other thing that worries me is market neutral strategies, which is what Doppler is deploying. I'm not neutral about this market myself. Most of the space, I do not want any exposure. I don't care to have any exposure to it. This market ebbs and flows. A neutral strategy, I think, can be dangerous. It can be dangerous. Now, obviously, during a bull market, alt season, like we've seen in the past, everybody wins, everybody sings Kumbaya, and you have a good time. We're not in that environment. We're not. And so Doppler has not provided enough that really enticed me to invest with them. White Rock, I have no comment. More markets I have to look into further. Axelar I have to look into further. Flare, I just figured let's make the sacrifice and see what we find. But I know at least Flare does have, some real utility. I've been very bullish on Flare. I still think that Flare's on its way to 10 cents. So I think that you have a play in just owning Flare. I think that you have a play in using your Flare for the DeFi. I think that you have a play in using your XRP for the DeFi over there. I still want to see a lot more, though, even from the Flare team. Once again, though, I only deployed 90 XRP. I'm not going in with thousands of XRP, tens of thousands of XRP. So this whole yield game only makes a difference when you can start to deploy significant amounts of capital. Obviously, it's all relative, but to me, the number that I have in mind is get a stablecoin passive income portfolio between 1 to 5 million, and if you're earning 5 to 10%, you're going to be at 50 to 100,000 on a million, and you'll be at 250 to 500,000 on 5 million. So if you get a little nest egg of 1 to 5 million, which obviously is easier said than done, but that's when you can start to have a conversation about earning 5%. And basically just keeping up with inflation, because 5% that's all it's accomplishing. And I've said it before, I'll say it again, just to remind everybody, the reason why I'm not allocating 1,000, 10,000 or more XRP to any of these, and we're a long ways from them getting any big bags of mine, is because I treat my XRP like a reserve. I'm scared to do anything with it, like many of you are. But also, within my trading bag, the returns and the ROI, our P&L over there with our trading, is far better than any of these yield opportunities. Even if these yield opportunities were at 20%, we're knocking one trade after another that's 10 to 20% on a bad trade. I'm disappointed in myself, and I consider it a bad trade when I only make 10 to 20% profit, which is what I took on my XRP long right before the big liquidation event. To me, that's didn't really hit it that well. 10 to 20% in the traditional world, you're getting promoted, you're running the show, you're knocking it out of the park. 10 to 20% on my trades, I just nothing to be excited about there. And this is why I say, why would I be trying to make 5% on anything if I can go find 50% to 500% plays pretty consistently at this point? That opportunity probably goes away after this cycle, and this space matures substantially over the next few years into the following cycle. And so that opportunity is only going to last so long, but while it's here, I'm going to squeeze it for as much as I can get. While I have the time and while I enjoy doing the trading, I'm going to squeeze it for as much as I get. And if I lose, I will let you guys know. I'm not going to hide or pretend. There's a lot of guys that do that, and that's not me. All right. So anyways, that's why 5 to 10, 20% yield, I'd rather just work my trading. I'd rather just self-direct. I have the ability, I have the time, the knowledge, the experience. I still lose. I don't win them all. But while I'm here in the game, far bigger returns. Shane, thank you for linking that up. Zach has a merch shop on his website, link in the description. Yeah, I haven't been plugging the merch lately though, but we are, getting ready to launch some new things. You're really going to like it. We got new hats, new merch, a couple new collections on the way for shirts, hoodies, and then stay tuned, guys. We got some big stuff on the way for the merch because we're going to do a Christmas push. Okay, so we're going to be bringing some specials on. We're going to be doing some Christmas packages, some bundles, and we're going to do everything that we can to get those shipped out and delivered so that everybody can have them by Christmas. We're going to have a hard cutoff where we're going to say, you get on your order by this day, we'll guarantee that it's there by Christmas or your money back. Other than that, it's going to be a big push leading up to the Christmas. But we're looking at rolling out some beanies, rolling out some other fun stuff, jackets. We already got the hoodies. We're going to bring some more hoodies, more designs and collections, more hats. And, well, it's just another way that you guys can support the cause, and we couldn't do it without your support. So thank you so much. Do you guys have any other questions besides what do I think of Claver's price predictions? I love it, man. I love it. Every single live show, every single video. What do you think of Claver's predictions? I like Chad's 20,000, road to 20,000. That's fun. No, I mean, guys, it's just, we're going to have a lot of fun. Just simple data. Simple data. I think I was thinking to myself, I was listening to myself back on Paul Barron's show, and I apologize because I was still getting over that cold, so I still didn't sound 100%. So I apologize for that, but I was thinking to myself, man, I'm going to have to come up with a new word than data because I keep on trying to hammer the data point home. But it's so important because it's no clickbait, it's no hopium, it's no pie in the sky, it's no theory, it's no, oh, I heard whispers. It's just, here's the chart. Here's the data point. 6 billion XRP equivalent traded in only 4 months. You know, I'm going to get tired of saying data. What do I know about Link 2 Chapter 11? So Ripple just filed, they're trying to stop Link 2 from, I think, being able to use the proceeds of the Ripple shares that they sold. Or no. Sorry, my apologies. Well, they already sold the Ripple shares. Like 3 or 4% of the Ripple shares that Link 2 had got sold by the CEO without investors' knowledge. What Ripple is trying to stop is the closed-end fund. Ripple has put in a motion to stop Link 2 from creating, and basically this whole bankruptcy process, they have put in a motion to stop a closed-end fund from becoming a thing. Because what it does is it could potentially take Ripple public and force them to go public. And so they acknowledge how it would potentially damage shareholders. You know, they're not filing to go public right now. They shouldn't be subject to this. The company Link 2 did wrongdoing on their own. It shouldn't, come back to bite Ripple because, Bill Saris and others at Link 2 did some shady things like that, allegedly. And so Ripple's filed a motion to actually stop the closed-end fund. These are the two options right now that they're voting on. Is the closed-end fund, which is basically you take all of the equity that Link 2 had and you create a public company. And so everybody would get a share. you would get however many shares based off of the equity that you had on the platform. And non-accredited investors would be allowed to hold that stock in those shares because it would be a public company. So the big issue is the non-accredited investors. That's the big issue right now, one of them with this link to Ordeal and how you fix it. You can't fix it if they brought in too many unaccredited investors. Right. Unless we change the laws on that. And I watched the video that Ray Fuentes put out today. Very passionate, brought up some good points. The only thing that I'll say in response to Ray's video that I saw today is that it looks like we're already moving in the direction of voting on a closed-end fund or a liquidation trust. So Ray was talking about, changing the laws and all that, and I'm 100% behind that. It's just I worry that we're too far into the process where people are voting on closed-end fund or liquidation trust. So it's a very unfortunate situation. I will continue to update you guys, but there is going to be a hearing on it tomorrow at 11 a.m. Central, I believe. 11 a.m. Central, and we can call into that. So I will be trying to call in and listen in on that one tomorrow morning. I don't quote me exactly, but I believe it's 11 a.m. or it's either 10 or 11 a.m. Central Standard Time because it's in Texas. So yeah, that's going to be an unfortunate situation. Cajun Beast, how soon do you think that the reverse carry trade unwind happens? Well, it's starting right now with the bonds being priced in for another, or not for another, but for a rate cut from the Bank of Japan, right? The 10-year, the 30-year, they've all gone to levels that we haven't seen since the Great Financial Crisis. The bond market in Japan is saying rate cuts coming. That starts to unwind the reverse carry trade. Can everybody let me know too? Are we coming in loud and clear on the mic? I'm finally over this cold, so I know that I'm getting my voice back to 100%. But I had noticed, and you guys had commented and let me know that the volume was down a little bit. So I've upped the volume. I did that on Tuesday's live show in my previous videos. So is the sound coming through good now? Good. But yeah, the reverse carry trade is unraveling slowly, and that's going to accelerate if this actually does take place. With the Bank of Japan raising rates while we're cutting rates. Yeah. Becky says, I love that Claver quotes you a lot. He has a lot of respect for you. Yeah, so this is why, it's so interesting to watch because what they've done over there, they grew at Digital Wealth Partners way faster than I was expecting. They went 0 to 100 real quick, if you know what I mean. Literally. I think somebody just showed me that they're at $250 million worth of XRP in their XRP hedge fund. So that's the largest XRP fund that is attempting to earn returns on your XRP. This is combined, once again, with Axelar, More Markets, Flare. We're already over 100 million XRP. Digital Wealth Partners alone is approaching 100 million XRP in their hedge funds. Flare is at what, 10 million? Right? More Markets, I thought, was over 10 million too. Doppler's up at like 30 million, maybe more. Axelar, I think, is what, 10 million as well. So we're talking about approaching 150 million plus XRP just between Digital Wealth Partners, More Markets, Axelar, and Flare. It's four. It's four XRP yield opportunities. 150 million XRP. This is so early. And once again, you start to get into a scenario here very soon where 1% of the total XRP supply will be locked up in these types of funds. Decentralized, centralized, the whole spectrum. BlackRock's going to show up. The largest asset managers in the world are going to show up and create additional XRP income funds. More DeFi protocols are going to roll up. There's still degens right now on the XRP ledger that are putting 10,000 XRP into Mickey Mouse, Pudgy Wudgy NFTs. Guys, all of this XRP gets locked up and burnt, right? And Flair, Hugo, he said that they're looking to get 5% of the XRP total supply. That's 5 billion XRP that he wants to see deployed in the Flare ecosystem. That is a big goal, but I love to hear it. Axelar also wants 5% of the total XRP supply. More markets. I don't know how ambitious they are. I know how ambitious Jake is. The last time I talked to him, he was telling me about some of the plans that he's working on. And they're already at almost 100 million. And then for crying out loud, the memesters, they're still throwing XRP at memes. I still have, for crying out loud. I make fun of the memesters. I am a memester. I am a degen. I have a few hundred basis points of my portfolio allocated to XRP meme coins, for crying out loud. 90% of my portfolio is XRP spot, no leverage, no memes, no nothing, just XRP spot, 90% XRP. And then I have another few percentage points, XRP memes. I am guilty of this. XRP that can't be used for cross-border payments, can't be used for treasury management, can't be used for derivatives, can't be used for the flows and trading between real-world assets tokenized on the XRP ledger, can't be used for anything because degens take 10,000 XRP and they go buy a picture. It's a beautiful thing when you sit back and just appreciate the supply shock that's coming. You think to yourself, God, I would never spend $10,000 on that NFT. Some degen did. You think to yourself, wow, Zach's crazy for going into Flare. Maybe I am. But whether we like it or don't like it or believe in it or don't believe in it, people are doing it. It's locking up XRP. Right? And I'm telling you, this just compounds over the next 12 to 24 months as XRP DeFi blossoms with regulations passing with the Clarity Act and the additional amendments that are being added onto the XRP ledger. You see, people thought 100 billion supply is too much. XRP's never going to pump, right? Ripple's never going to let it go. Ripple has the most incentive to see XRP price go up. Let me refresh the chat. Let me check it with you guys. Refresh the chat. Let's get a vibe check from you guys. How you doing out there? Let me know in the comments. Cajun Beast. Big Hundo. That's a big one, Cajun Beast. I appreciate that. Thank you for coming on these live streams and teaching us. I receive so much information from you and 2 other YouTubers. I appreciate it. Cajun Beast. It's a team effort. I commend. We got some good content creators in the XRP community. I was even listening to a Bitcoin bro earlier today. And I was thinking to myself, man, I'm not going to say the guy's name. I've met him before. I've talked to him. As soon as I mentioned XRP, I saw the look in his eyes. He wanted to get away from me as fast as possible. I was like, bro, I'm not contagious. I'm not going to bite you. You know, I just think that XRP has some utility too. But I was listening to a Bitcoin bro earlier. And he was talking about, you know, the statements from Russia about how we were going to use crypto to pay off our debt and how stablecoins solve the debt problem for America and the shortfall that we have in the treasuries and how stablecoins will soak all that up. And I was watching this video from this guy and I'm thinking, man, great YouTuber, great presentation. Imagine if he wasn't just a Bitcoin maxi. Like, just great content, you know? And so that's why I say it's a team effort, and let the Bitcoin bros do their deal. They're bringing more people in. Let the memesters be degens. They're bringing more people in. And a rising tide lifts all boats. And here's what's happening too. With the regulations going live, there's no more excuses for anybody. If you're not getting institutional adoption, if you're not getting ETFs, digital asset treasury companies, you have no motion. You only could potentially have retail interest and retail inflows. Retail money only goes so far. Institutional money, institutional liquidity, institutional cross-border payments, institutional treasury management, and institutional DeFi makes what we've done so far in crypto look like playtime. Playtime's over. The rubber's going to meet the road on your project or it's not. And I think that we've positioned ourselves very well with real utility, projects that actually have use of the token, projects that have ETFs on the way, digital asset treasury companies putting it on their balance sheet, and they're well on their way to building out DeFi. Flare DeFi is exploding because of FXRP. It's going to bring more attention to Flare for other folks that are just buying Flare and using Flare for the DeFi over there. They've quickly gone from like less than 10 million total value lock, I think, to over 100 million total value lock. And more on the way. But no, I appreciate, we got some really good content creators out there. I appreciate what they do, and I appreciate you guys just for your support. Absolutely. Now, Rich Daddy Quan, oh, I love that name. Rich Daddy Quan comes in, big 50 spot. News today, future first from Coinbase. It's the start of universal basic income. Has anyone seen that? I didn't see that from Coinbase. I saw that they're trialing in New York a little payment to, what's the word that I can use? Some group went and found people that basically are poor, and they're going to give them stable coins. Okay. And so this is essentially a UBI trial using stable coins. We'll see how it works out. Yeah, but they found people that were in need, people that were impoverished, and they're going to be giving them stable coins. This is taking place in New York. And I thought that it involved the New York government, but it appears that it's just some group. And I think that Coinbase might be helping facilitate that because it's USDC. So that's big. That's big. Yeah, this moves us in that direction. More inflation. More bullish for this space. Are we going to sit around and wait for a UBI check? No. In fact, I skipped over a data point that I wanted to share with you guys here tonight. Where did it go? Where did it go? Did I not save it? Oh, there it is. Trump is considering providing taxpayers with $1,000 to $2,000 stimulus checks using tariff revenue. Now, that's great. I get a little checky check from President Trump. But the mindset that I've always had here is that I'm not waiting around for the government to take care of me ever. And I've never relied on their services in that form or fashion ever. During 2020 and the events that took place with the PPP, never took a loan. Kept our employees on, never took a loan, never asked for a handout. And in fact, my state tried to tell me that my business wasn't essential. I said, thanks for the consideration, but we are going to keep working and providing our services, whether you deem them essential or not. Thank you very much for the consideration. We're going to press on. But this UBI trial, we'll watch. I mean, I think this is the start of something much, much bigger. Much bigger. In the states like New York, California, Washington, Oregon, others, they could push it a little bit further than some of us would like to see, is how I'll say that lightly. They could push a little bit further than we would like to see. But at the end of the day, it ends up just pushing up asset prices higher. It's the same thing that came from all the stimulus from 2020 and 2021. It brought us that beautiful bull run, right? It brought our real estate market up. Some markets in our country doubled basically in price over the span of 2 to 3 years, like Austin, Texas. And so if they do it again, which that's looking like that's going to be the case, I'd rather the stimulus check from Trump come from tariff revenue than the money printer going burr. I will say that. At least with this stimulus check, we can tell you, hey, it's not coming from the Fed turning on that money printer. It's coming from tariff revenue. I probably just went too far. Somebody probably just got offended. We got to do something. Somebody's got to come up with the plan. Anyone starting a church after moon, saving people is the best. Yeah. I see some people saying give back, help people. Yeah, that's what the XRP community is doing now, and it's only going to expand from here. This community, we're going to do some great things. Now, we got what the heck? Thoughts on stacking and stashing a little Ondo bag. I haven't moved on Ondo just because it's a new coin. I still want to see how the dynamic plays out, who all needs the Ondo token, right? You have many institutional partners with Ondo so far, but I'd still like to see a little bit more. I guess I just need to deep dive the project. It's on my list to deep dive, and so I'll let you guys know about Ondo. Algorand finally just got a new CTO. That's good. I'd like to see some more institutional adoption from Algorand. But at least they got former head of engineering, or he had a big position at Ripple in the engineering department. That was Nick Bougalis, who's going to be the chief technical officer at Algorand now. That's big. That's big. Nick did a lot of great work for the XRP ledger. Okay. Any other final questions, comments, guys? I got my community resources plugged up down below. One other one that I didn't mention so far tonight was the Gemini XRP credit card. I have been swiping that. I activated it. And today I actually swiped it, picking up some diesel for my pickup truck. So I'm hoping that I can get the 4% back on my diesel. I'm going to show you guys here real quick on the Gemini credit card. You can earn 4% back on gas, EV charging, transit, taxis, and rideshare. 3% back on dining, 2% on groceries, 1% on everything else. Now, so far, I used the card at Subway to activate it. I am not going back to Subway probably ever again. I reminded myself why I don't like whatever they got going on is a little bit funky. I mean, obviously, it's edible, whatever it is, I guess, but they got some crap in Subway. But anyways, we were in a rush last week, so I activated the Gemini card at Subway, earned 3% back on that. I swiped the card at a taco truck. That was this week. Got me in the family. Me and the wife had carne asada tacos. Well done. And earned 3% back on that. And then just today, I swiped it to fill up my truck, which cost me $113 to put 24.7 gallons of diesel. I remember because I was taking note. And so I'm excited to see if I get my full 4% back on that. Hopefully, I can earn 4% back on diesel. I'm assuming that I can. 4% back on EV, gas, and diesel. So I'll let you guys know how that goes. But I got the Gemini credit card linked up down below as well, too. Okay, yeah. Yeah, it's a good question. Somebody asked me on TikTok about the whole Swift thing. So Swift still is working on a proof of concept. They're only working on messaging. They don't have a solution for settlement. They're still way behind Ripple. And even Brad Garlinghouse, in a shareholder letter that he sent out earlier this week, he acknowledged that Swift really is not competition for Ripple because they're already moving with their product, which does messaging and settlement, ISO 222 compliant. I believe that Swift will adopt XRP and tap into the XRP ledger at the end of the day. I don't believe them to be direct competitors so much anymore because the XRP ledger will be used for more than cross-border payments. And it seems like Brad is echoing that, stating that there's not really much of a competition because Swift is still just messaging. At the end of the day, you have to do the settlement and you need a neutral bridge currency. Swift allows you to transact in many different currencies. So I believe that they will allow and tap into have interoperability with multiple blockchains as well too, including the XRP ledger. So I wouldn't worry about that. I already put out a video on it, but tomorrow I'm going to make a TikTok on the Swift deal because I realized that I dropped a great video, Swift versus XRP. In fact, if I look real quick, what was that titled? XRP versus Swift, the truth. Yeah, that video has about 41,000 views right now. So it did pretty good, got pretty good traction. So people can go check out that. But that video is a little bit longer. And it reminded me today, somebody commented and said, I wish that you could make this into a 60-second video. And so I responded back and I said, that's a great idea. I'll make a short tomorrow. So tomorrow, I'll make a 60-second TikTok. I'll post it on YouTube as a short and on X as well, summarizing the Swift update. But yeah, I already did the video on YouTube breaking it down. There's no reason to concern. No concern. No competition. They still only do messaging. Their systems are still behind. They're still only in a proof of concept phase. They're way behind. Way behind. So you're spending your XRP, or is it a credit card? No, it's a credit card. And after you activate it, you get your full limit opened up. So I'm just spending money on my credit card like I normally would. I'll pay it off at the end of the month like I do on my other credit cards. But this time I'm going to be earning XRP back. Now my credit cards that I have now, I got the airlines. So that's been a great deal for me. A lot of my flights are free. I'm flying, upgrading to first class most of the time for free. And so, that's been very nice. But now I'm going to compare my airline points with my XRP. And the nice thing too is it deposits XRP right into your account. And so you have no taxable event, right? You're receiving your XRP. Obviously, consult with your tax and legal professionals on any of those matters. But yeah, you're just getting XRP deposited right into your account. You can just hold it. You're not going to have a taxable event until you sell it. But yeah, the 3% back on dining, that's pretty nice. It's pretty nice. I mean, golly, you spend an arm and a leg these days to take the family out to a restaurant. So you might as well get 3% back on XRP. You know what I'm saying? Goodness gracious. Do I have a link for the credit card or no? Yes, I do. It's linked up in the description of this video, the Gemini credit card. But guys, I'm going to do a separate video on XRP trading fees. I mentioned it earlier. I went to go trade some XRP around, and one of these exchanges was going to charge me 5% in total fees to go from XRP to US dollars. And they were going to charge me 6.3% to go from XRP to US dollars withdrawn to my bank account. So 5% fee, but an additional, it was total 6.3% fee to withdraw to my bank account US dollars. XRP to US dollars to my bank, 6.3% on the trade. Now, I've already done this on Caleb and Brown. Your fee is 3.5%, but then you have no withdrawal fee. And so I'm going to be in the process of moving some assets around because these exchanges are trying to sneak in where they hit us with spread. I don't like it, one. And two, it's just unnecessary to pay that when Caleb and Brown can get you in at 3.5% total. These other platforms are hiding the spread. I went to go move some XRP. The market price of XRP is 292, and they're telling me that the rate is 286 on their platform to sell it. That's just not okay. I measured it. I sent it to my Discord group yesterday. It was 2.3% spread. And this is where these exchanges are killing you guys. Now, I'm not saying you have to go to Caleb and Brown to get the best deal. I'm saying shop around and take a look. And what I'm finding is that at least Caleb and Brown is transparent. At least they're upfront. Okay, you want to sell XRP, XLM, whatever the asset is at this price. Your fee is going to be 3.5%. We're going to fill your order at this price. Here's how many dollars are going to land in your account. They get it done. And then you say, can you send the dollars to my bank account? And they say, yes. No withdrawal fee, no withdrawal limit. And this was once again on me moving 100 XRP. Imagine trying to sell off. And I know people in our community that are looking to sell off 10,000 XRP. They have 100,000 XRP. And they're going to offload 5 or 10,000 this bull run. Pay off debt, do something else, take a trip, whatever. Right? They have 100,000 XRP. They're going to sell off 10,000. Well, do the math on that. I know people that are going to sell off 100,000. I know people that want to sell millions of XRP. And it's going to kill me when these people come back to have another one-on-one call, come back in my Discord group, come back in the comments and tell me, yeah, Zach, you were right. I sold off, I went to take about $1 million profit and I paid 5%. I paid 6.3% on fees. Maybe worse. Some of these other ones might get worse. And once again, this is with XRP not in euphoric bull run. This is XRP steadily climb back up to 292. Not $5, not $10, not 20, 30, not 100, not 1,000. You guys want to talk about $1,000 XRP? I'd love to. I'd also love to warn that when we get up to these bigger prices, that spread of 2%, you're going to feel like you're giving them your unborn children. Seriously, guys, it's crazy. And so I've gone through and I've tested this. I went to different exchanges, different platforms, different brokers. Let's get a deal done. What's the fee going to be? How's your liquidity? What's the withdrawal fee and withdrawal limit? How quickly can you get it to my bank? Coinbase has been good so far. Still don't trust them. Still don't like them. Once again, we are not here to be friends with these people. Okay? Coinbase has been pretty good. But right now, I don't know what's going on. They won't let me withdraw XRP or Flare. I don't know what's going on. Other platforms are hiding the spread, hiding the slippage. And I'm telling you guys, it's going to be brutal. It's going to be brutal. Nick just asked in the chat, would you ever collab with Mikkel? Yeah, I'd love to collab with Mikkel. What, should we get Mikkel on the show? Mikkel, I had to ask him, can we get him on the show though? He's got his official role as a financial advisor at Digital Wealth Partners, right? Or I think they say wealth advisor. Right, so wealth advisor at Digital Wealth Partners. So we could have some fun with Mikkel. We'll have to see. Maybe Mikkel wants to come on the show. Would that be fun? I'm gonna have to tell Mikkel to get a haircut, though. I saw his video the other day. I said, "What's going on, brother?" Goodness gracious, my man's is flying it, letting it fly out here. I was thinking to myself, man, maybe he was just doing that to get some extra clicks on the video. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes us YouTubers, we set up little props. I was making, and I honestly didn't even realize I was making a video in my truck the other day. I like my son's like toy. I saw when I was watching the video back afterwards, I saw, what is that in the background? It's my son's toy. But no, I was thinking maybe Mikkel is letting it fly and we're going with the werewolf look just to get some more clicks on the video. I mean, it probably works. I like Mikkel. I've had a lot of fun with Mikkel. We had a good time down in XRP Las Vegas last year. Project Herndon, thank you for your encouraging words every time. I wanted to tell you, help me hold on, diamond hands. You know, I've been getting a lot of that feedback lately, and the thing is, I never tell anybody what to do. I just come to present my case and let you guys make a decision. I try to do my best to educate you on every topic that we're going to cover, and I'm not a guru. I'm not the best on every subject. We've really honed in on XRP because we think it was one of the best opportunities, and it turned out to be. And it still is one of the best opportunities in front of us. But, you know, I got to commend you guys in the chat, you guys listening to me, because you guys tell me some of the stories that you're going through. And I've, you know, we've gone through our own things. I've had my things in my life. You know, a few years ago, I lost my dad, you know, stuff like that. And obviously, with my family, you know, we got 2 young ones and 1 more on the way. Nothing's easy about that. And I just want to say thank you for those of you guys that support me, for those of you guys that pray for me. I believe in the power of prayer. And I just want to let you guys know that I'm praying for you guys too. Every single night. I thank God for the opportunity that I have to come before you guys, that I have to, you know, help humanity move forward with this platform and what I do for work. It's very enjoyable, but it's reciprocal. All the thoughts and prayers that you guys send my way, I'm sending them right back at you guys. And I just got to commend you guys for your courage. You guys are going through, tested in ways that I haven't been tested in. Some of you guys going through health challenges, financial challenges, business, marriage, everything in between, accidents, injuries. If 4 years in an SEC versus Ripple lawsuit didn't cause enough damages, when it rains, might as well let it pour, right? I mean, we have the red folder. It was all a joke. It was all a meme. No, it was very real. It's very sad, actually. On top of that, everything else that life throws at us. Yet we've stayed the course. We've stayed true. We haven't folded. We never gave up, never gave in. And it's starting to pay off, and it's going to pay off a lot more. That's the good news, is it's going to be worth it. It's going to be worth it. You know, I was just talking with my wife. It's going to be worth it. Nothing's easy about this. You know, I wish I could take some of the pain away from my wife, right? You know, raising our 3rd one. Holy cow, what the mothers go through. Praise God. What a blessing. It's an absolute miracle. It's incredible. And the strength. I wish I could share some of that burden, share some of that pain. And all that to say that we're in this together, guys. We're in this together. You, me, our families, our loved ones, everybody else that'll listen to us. A lot of people won't listen to us. That's fine. We continue to press on. We know what we want out of life. We know what we're building. We know what's possible with the XRP ledger in a truly level playing field. We've seen God's money send a signal showing us what's possible. Still a lot of room to run there. And ultimately, despite everything that was sent our way, we came out victorious. And we are finally on the other side of it. This is why we've adjusted the messaging from Ripple, and Brad has gone from all of the headwinds that we faced to now the tailwinds that are literally valued in the trillions. It's not just the tailwinds. These are tailwinds that are trillions of dollars coming into our ecosystem. And the final shoe to drop, the final domino to fall, is the ETFs going live. Once that takes place, there's no going back. The same thing happened for gold and silver, by the way. When the ETF went live for gold, it did a 5x between 2003 and 2011. Silver did a 10x between 2004. State Street went live. First ETF in 2004. Until 2011, it was a 10x for silver. Okay. Now, crypto, we talked about it doing more, and we talked about it going there faster. That is exactly what is taking place. Now, I want to check back here because we have a few more super chats, and then I'm going to wrap up this show. If you guys haven't already, please make sure that you like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. And I greatly appreciate you guys for stopping by. So, Mike saw something about no corporate tax on crypto. That deals with corporations were having to report their crypto holdings. And, oh gosh, I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was essentially you had to mark to market your portfolio in crypto every quarter. So you would basically have to realize a gain on your crypto holdings if you had one on a quarterly basis. I believe that's what it was. I'll look into it a little bit further and I'll talk about it in a separate video. I talked about this because it came up months ago. We talked about it, and now it's finally here and live. And so this is great news for corporations that want to put Bitcoin, crypto, XRP on their balance sheet, because you no longer have to do a mark-to-market basis and realize that gain. That's what it was. You had to mark-to-market the current price of your crypto holdings and realize the gain. I don't know how that was calculated or how it was done from a tax standpoint, but basically it was prohibiting a lot of corporations from putting it on their balance sheet because this was an asset that you would have to realize the unrealized gains on. Nobody wants to do that, right? Now we got Gabriel Garcia, CoinMarketCap showing 4.14 trillion in crypto. I'm happy it's been going up lately and steady like XRP. ETFs like the tide should make it rise. Oh yeah. I was just in Seaside a couple weeks ago on the family road trip, and they got a real ocean, a real beach out there, not like where I live. Where I live in the Pacific Northwest, we have crappy beaches full of rocks and crap, and they're not nice sandy beaches. And the other thing where I live is that we're tucked in, we're insulated behind all of these islands, so we don't have the open sea. Like, where I live cannot be hit by a tsunami, right? Up in my neck of the woods, a tsunami can't reach us because we have all these islands protecting us. Islands that are United States territory and islands that are actually Canadian territory, Vancouver Island, etc. Shout out to the Canadians in the chat. I know we have some folks from Vancouver Island that listen to our show. Thank you for protecting us. You guys will take the tsunami and the big one if it comes. But we went down to Seaside a couple weeks ago, and I was telling my wife, this is the real ocean that we have here. It's nice. But the tide, how it actually, it'll pull you out, and especially I'm out there jumping into the waves with my little ones, right? My 2-year-old son, my daughter. And I was getting a little scared, right? It's funny. Back when I was a young whippersnapper, I was out there jumping in those waves. We went to Long Beach. We went to Seaside. No care in the world. I was talking about this with my wife, how I used to do roller coasters, all these fun things. Now I'm scared to do anything like that, man. I'm like, we were out there in the ocean and the tide was going out, and it really pulls you back in that undercurrent. We're not used to dealing with that. Out where I'm at, we like play around in the tide pools, and that's our beach experience. Out there, it's the real ocean. And to me, that is one of the funnest games to play as a kid. I remember doing it when I was young, and it was so much fun to do it with my children, where You basically are just standing out there and letting Mother Nature beat you up, right? The waves are crashing into you. You run out there, then you run back in. Had a hell of a time. But all of that to say, Gabriel Garcia, you are correct with the tides. You know, it comes in, comes out. The tsunami that we have coming in the form of crypto ETFs and the broader institutional adoption into XRP, though, is the big one. Not just the seasonal storm, not just some elevated waves crashing in. This is the big one. This is the big one. I was having fun in Cannon Beach. They have when you enter the tsunami zone, they let you know. And then they have a whole map that has all of the elevations marked off. So if the tsunami's coming in, you know where to go to and how high up you are. And I'm thinking to myself, oh boy, this is kind of fun. Up in my neck of the woods, it's a little bit more peaceful. We get some low waves. The only waves that we get are from the wind. No tide. There's a tide, but anyways. The tsunami that's coming is going to be a life-changing opportunity, and thank God we're here to take advantage of it. That's a great one to close on. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in tonight. If you guys haven't already, make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell. Help us out by liking this stream and then sharing out our content far and wide. I'll be dropping some TikTok shorts tomorrow. Those ones are great to share out. Guys, that's all I ask, is that you like our content, you share it out far and wide. If you don't like us, I just ask that you smack the thumbs down and drop a comment down below telling us how you really feel. You can vent in my comment section, that's fine. But we really do appreciate your support. Everything's at ZachRector.com. I will be back tomorrow. This market's looking fantastic. Quick price check before we check out. XRP at 3017, holding up at $3. That's okay. That's okay. Getting ready for that move higher. I hope you guys are prepared. I'll see everybody tomorrow, okay? God bless you all. Thank you so much.